game. I went and did the research. GMO is reducing our fertility. GMO is doing it in all the other animals they tested on. They won't let human tests go on because they want to cover this up. All the big eugenicists that call for population reduction are the ones funding it, like Bill Gates buying into Monsanto. I want to get him on about the latest threats from this and then expand into some other areas with our guest here because this is the big issue. This is one of the areas where you can still try to avoid it, but not for long. They're trying to stop it from being labeled, and they're trying to proliferate to every food crop there is, not just the basic staples. So this is the crossroads, and Jeff Smith joins us. Jeffrey, good to have you with us. What's front and center on your radar? What are the biggest threats right now with this whole Frankenfood takeover?
Well, I've been working on a new film, Alex, and I've been interviewing veterinarians and pediatricians and other doctors. And what I'm seeing now is extreme support for our concept that GMOs are causing the rise in so many diseases. So that's one thing. And so I want to talk about autism, for example, and irritable bowel syndrome and other problems and relate them to GMOs. Also, we're seeing evidence of a new organism, new to science. You may have reported on it from Dr. Huber, which might be causing all that infertility we're talking about. I want to talk about some experiences I'm getting from numerous farmers and others about animals spontaneously avoiding GMOs when given a choice. And when they get on GMOs, they get sick or die or have fertility problems. And when they get off GMOs, there's all sorts of improvements in those symptoms. And I want to talk about also what's happening on the ground as we're seeing an upsurge of awareness and concern about GMOs and what it means in terms of a way out of this madness. And I think you're right on about labeling. It turns out the expression of concern today is being expressed in, I think, 18 different states have bills floated about labeling GMOs, plus there's an initiative in California that can drive it out in a single blow.
Amazing. And this is the genetic Armageddon. This is the real provable thing, not the system co-opting environmental concern with carbon dioxide. I mean, that's why they do that, because they don't want us looking at the real issue. And then later I want to ask you, from your deep research, I know you don't speculate, why the elite would be doing this when it's blowing back on them. But we've got some time. Let's get into the first issues up front. That is a powerful raft of info you just laid out.
I think we'll start with the stories of the animals that have been fed GMOs and what's happened to them and what changes they've seen when they take them off GMOs. And then we can work in the autism issue, because one of the interviews I conducted recently was with Dr. Don Huber, and he's been an expert in the impact of Roundup, Monsanto's herbicide used on Roundup-ready crops, and that has put him into a situation where he's studying about GMOs. So he was speaking in Germany and going over the behavioral changes, the neurological changes, and the physiological changes that we're seeing in animals that are fed GMOs, both livestock and laboratory animals. And a doctor approached him afterwards and said, you know, this is exactly what we're seeing in autistic children. So let's go into those animal studies, those animal experiences, and then we'll circle back and see if autism may be implicated. I talked to someone last week at a conference in Washington among farmers, and he said he had just received a call in December from one of his agricultural clients, a farmer who has thousands of pigs. And he said that the guy was stammering and so excited he couldn't hardly get out what he wanted to say. And what eventually unfolded was that 11 days previous, he took this guy's suggestion and shifted the corn that was being fed to his pigs in the nursery to non-genetically modified corn. Now, after about 3 days, they noticed a change, and him and his brothers walked in, and they kind of just joked for themselves, saying, maybe it's the non-GMO corn. But by the 11th day, he placed the call to this man and was so excited because he was absolutely sure it was the change to non-GMO corn that caused the dramatic change.
Stay there. Amazing. I've been hearing this from farmers myself from 10 years, that their pigs and other smart animals will not eat the GMO because they have a